A little bit of background. A few months ago, before Meredith Schaefer went off on her trip to Latin America, she had a fundraiser where people were auctioning off things, and I attended the fundraiser, and because I didn't really have anything to auction off. I volunteered to demonstrate my Michael Jackson dance for this, and we'll get around to that in a little bit. But first of all, people were kind of shocked, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that you like Michael Jackson or that you could dance like that." So a little bit of background. This story serves as a background on my history with Michael Jackson. And I was practicing it last night, and I was using this kind of reporter kind of voice when I was reading it, so I think I might do that. This is called Michael Jackson, the King of Pop. MTV Video Music Awards, 1980-something. People are interrupted by a presence among them, eclipsing them. There is no introduction. Suddenly he is just there, center stage, and he just stands there, not moving at all, for about 2 whole minutes. Girls and boys are screaming. Then one of his old songs begins, and he is dancing madly, his movements full of blocking and stuttering and impossibly liquid segues, his skin whiter than a white man, his mouth moving and shaping the wrong words. The music is some kind of chronological medley, but his head has rearranged the order. He seems to change clothes a number of times without anyone noticing. His fingers and hands tangle themselves into odd shapes. It's as if he is sending out complex signs to gang members. It is the highest in street gang technology. The orders are only from the highest power, and the highest power is Michael Jackson. He sends out messages to countless gang affiliates through live television. Kill Big G Ice. Then in the next song, beat the shit out of DJ Sugarfingers. And finally, the slightly humorous and possibly misinterpreted code for bicycle chain around Mariah Carey's neck. Within minutes, Big G and Sugar are history. Mariah Carey is the only one surviving, because she is here, in the safety of the MTV Video Music Awards. In fact, she is thinking from her seat in row Q what it would be like to have sexual congress with Michael. Michael Jackson is headbanging now. The song is a paper-thin ghost of a rock song. Slash drags himself onto the stage and even dances some choreographed routine with the King of Pop. Slash, you rule, says Michael, as the hairy guitarist sways off the side of the stage into a flood of flashing cameras. Then Michael starts doing this dance that makes him look like a retarded old man. The crowd noise dies down and people seem confused. There is fake audience screaming mixed into the music. He grabs a microphone that is actually on and stops for a moment. He is breathing heavily now, barely able to speak. Thank you, he pants and smiles. He points at someone in the audience and says, I love you too. He breathes heavily and sweats through the huge speakers. He is getting old. His eyes look shocked. This is years before he becomes a father, before he holds press conferences about child abuse, before he accuses record label people of being demonic, before his nose turns into one of those things you chalk pool cues with. When I was just 15, there was a day that I'll always remember. I was hanging out at the Columbia Center Mall in Kennewick, Washington in a DJ's record store. For some reason, I bought Thriller and Lionel Richie's first album. Both were very new on the shelf, and both had photos of the artist lying down on their sides and trying to look stylish. I was vacuumed into the whole BET funk and soul thing for the next 5 years. After getting into Cameo, Midnight Star, Earth, Wind and Fire, Peebo Bryson, and many other folks whose album cover art mainly consisted of them trying to look sexy, I was turned on to rap when I bought a Curtis Blow record on a whim. So besides all the great rap records I bought, Michael Jackson's Thriller was the shit to beat. One of my only black friends at this time was Richie Rapp, who was basically a big Michael Jackson wannabe, from his Jerry curl hair and red zippered jacket right down to his penny loafers. He was pretty much a school oddity, but of course he got plenty of girls who thought he was cute. Even my senior year girlfriend fantasized about him. One time at my house, we were all watching the making of Thriller, and I thought I saw them hold hands for a second. When the Bad album came out, I was in my first year of community college, had dumped my girlfriend, and I was now getting into the local new wave dance club thing, bands like Depeche Mode and The Cure. I didn't buy the Bad album, but I did buy the single, because a bad punk band I was in, called Neon Vomit, did an altered cover of it called I'm Good. An actual recording from the Neon Vomit tape when I was 19 years old. I rarely danced at the club when they played Michael Jackson, but I always danced to Prince. In fact, I did my best to dance like Prince, too. I'd gotten to the point where I was very pro-Prince and anti-Michael, though it was pretty hard to resist the Jagger-Jackson rocker state of shock. The corner of the club where all my new friends hung out was filled with minimal light, plenty of clove smoke, and these weird giant mushroom chairs. The club, like any other teen hangout, was full of various cliques. There were all the jocks, the breakdance crowd, the preppies, and us, the wavers and punks. We all just hung out in our own little section of the club, and everyone, except for us, would always dance to Michael Jackson. Although I can't remember, some of us may have slow danced to We Are the World. Still, it goes without saying that every other high school girl back in those days had pictures of the rather wholesome-looking king-to-be scotch-taped all over their school notebooks. Even millions of grown women have wanted him, wanted to know what it would be like to look in his teddy brown eyes and soothe him. He knows this. He sees women crying because of what they imagine his tongue to feel like. Women faint thinking of what it would be like to unzip him. When Michael met Lisa Marie, he knew she felt the same as all the other women that slept outside his mansion. You are so beautiful, he lied to her. You could be a million women. And he does not hear her response, but sees her with the rest, cheering him as they pile onto each other's shoulders for a better view. 2, 3, 4 of them, all at once, lifting their short shirts and exposing their heavy breasts. Little boys, too, asking for signed permission for their parents to spend one night with him, to play with his monkey, to play with bubbles, to go on the rides and drink Pepsi by the poolside. But at night it hits home. He looks out his bedroom window, scanning the kingdom before him, seeing his huge lawn and huge array of luxuries, like the tennis court, sauna, and the golf course he never uses. He looks at all this but does not feel one trace of body heat. No other skin except his own. No other hand stroking his flat belly. He realizes too easily amidst the loud silence that he is alone and knows absolutely nothing about normal life, normal love. Every song he tries to write has the same stock list of words that he has used since the age of 13. He still rhymes cold with hold, still uses the word love and baby in the same breath, still refers to himself too much. He tries every day to wear himself out, to exhaust every muscle, so that at night he can collapse into a hard sleep and crash into his strange dreams without having to listen to his thoughts. But this is Michael Jackson we're talking about, and he is the biggest star of them all. As bright as a billion television sets simultaneously broadcasting the Billie Jean video. Would it stop his sadness if he knew that people everywhere, men like me, now dance on the sidewalk, square to square, imagining them lighting up at the touch of our steps, some kind of ghetto hopscotch, but he's the one wearing a tux and a single jeweled glove. I imagine you at a party, Michael, maybe with Macaulay Culkin or Brooke Shields, standing in line at the keg. You say hello to Charlie Sheen and catch a fleeting glance at Winona Ryder, who does not like you. While sipping the cool, foamy beer, you chit-chat meaninglessly with Sean P. Diddy Combs until Sting and Bruce Springsteen's wife pull him away to a mirror full of white powder skid marks. I have to save the mother, Sting says to P. Diddy ominously. I have to return to myself. His remarks go unexplained, but now you feel sweaty. Too much leather, too much handshaking. You choose to invite a very stone slash into the bathroom with you. In the bathroom, Michael Jackson is confused, upset, and crying. He seems disoriented in his own life. He barely remembers his childhood and barely remembers things that happened 6 months ago. Here is an example of the power of soul. In 1984, my older brother took my friend Matthew and I to see Lionel Richie at the Tacoma Dome. We had an extra ticket, so he went to the show with us, even though he was a stoner and preferred Blue Oyster Cult. About halfway through Lionel's set, it looked like my brother was about to cry. He was singing along, cheering and shouting, "We love you, Lionel," between the songs. When Lionel played the old Commodore's tune, Brick House, my brother funked it up and danced like Jimmy Walker. It was like a religious awakening. When we got back to Kennewick, he wore his Lionel Richie t-shirt unflinchingly. Maybe it was the power of pot, but I'd like to think it was the power of a soulful experience. During those last couple of years of high school, Matthew and I would always go to my house on our lunch hours, where we'd watch Video Soul on Black Entertainment Television. After school, we hung out at a cool, funky record store called the Licorice Donut. Jeff, the owner, was responsible for turning me on to other bands such as The Time and rap stars like Schoolie D. Matthew and I spent our days playing playground basketball and drinking Slurpees, and our nights at punk shows or the one dance club in town. My dreams were that of a 19-year-old boy who's only had one girlfriend. There were plenty of orgies, blowjobs, and basketball fantasies spread through each night's sleep. But when I awoke each morning, I was alone like always. My dog curled up by my feet, the smell of bacon filtering through the house, and a sloppy display of posters on my bedroom walls, including the rather feminine-looking one of Michael Jackson wearing a fuzzy yellow sweater. I think for a moment that I should take the poster down, that I don't like him anymore. But then I wonder, for some reason, about Michael's dreams. What does Michael Jackson dream? I decide that when Michael dreams, he dreams of elephants. He dreams of riding on their backs and sliding down their long trunks. He dreams of little boys swinging from the tails of the mammoth animals. He sees in the black and white vision of his dreams a little boy balancing elephant excrement on his head. Quickly the horizon expands behind the boy's dripping smile, and a large group of marching police officers are seen approaching, knees kicking high, hands holding rifle on steady shoulders. Michael knows it is bad, knows the dream has turned into a nightmare, knows the naked boy will take the impending bullets from the air and into his sideways diving body. But the boy will not. The boy will not, because he is now in a wheelchair and his eyes are rolling on the floor toward an open and eager mouth of the elephant, which is now actually a cougar. The rifles are snapped from the shoulders aimed directly at Michael. An explosion of gunfire. Michael opens his eyes and sees the remains of the cougar scattered everywhere, limp and bloody. Strawberry Fields Forever by the Beatles is heard unfolding itself in another room. Michael feels a burning sensation creep up the veins in his arm. He grabs at his right bicep and discovers a black armband over his white shirt. He rips the shirt open and screams. When he awakes, sweaty, cold, and alone in his king-size bed, He reaches for the telephone and calls Steven Spielberg to discuss the concept of his next hit video. To calm himself, he then drinks a rum and Pepsi while looking at an obscene photo spread featuring his sister LaToya and a magazine his bodyguard bought at a cigar shop. He begins to slobber and weep. The last thing I heard about my friend Matthew was that he was living in Memphis, Tennessee, home of Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson's dead ex-father-in-law. Matthew turned into a mean asshole drunk after high school, and after living with him for 6 months, I didn't care to talk to him again. But when you're in high school, or before you hit the age when you turn sour, you take things more seriously when it comes to friendship and emotional ties. Things seem more vital, like you know your youth will soon start slipping away. The music you listen to is like perfume, triggering memories out of thin air. So when I hear the opening drum beats to Billie Jean, or the weird chiming intro to Beat It, a part of me ignores it and tries to dodge around it. But my heart seems to get warmer even though my brain is embarrassed. In my basement there is a box. Inside that box are about 30 cassette tapes, probably too old to play. My Thriller tape is there, or was there until I smashed it. It's all just part of an evolution, of things always changing. I'd be a fool to think that things don't change, but I'd be a bigger fool to smash everything all at once. The broken cassette is crushed beneath my foot like a dying animal. Maybe it is wondering when I'll come to my senses. I leave it there on the basement floor. When I go upstairs, there is something on TV about a big Jackson family reunion concert, but Michael is a no-show. Fans are restless, sad, and angry. I wonder too, where is Michael Jackson? Maybe he's simply at home, eating dinner, or maybe he fell asleep in his flotation tank. Maybe he's watching the same show and talking to Liz Taylor on the phone. Maybe they're laughing at the whole fiasco and making up excuses for his absence. Something about a helicopter running out of gas. Or maybe he's in his basement, smashing old dusty things and singing a song. Singing a demented song from the bottom of his soul. Because I hurt my knee, I can't really do much of it. I can only do the spin and kick. Settle down.
Next time you're in the Palace Books, head to the small press section and check out the Future Tense publications.